Imagine that it's the end of 2026, that another year came and went without your life changing at all the promises, goals, and dreams you had for the year. What if none of it came true? What if you wasted another year of potential stuck in your comfort zone? This is the sad reality for most people. A year from now, they'll wake up in 2027 and start the loop all over again. They'll promise to change, have goals for the new year, and abandon them in a few weeks. If you don't want to waste another year, you have to learn how to kill your addiction to comfort before it kills you. In this video, I'm going to break down what keeps you trapped in the comfort zone, how to break free from it, and make progress towards literally any goal you have for the new year. If you apply these lessons, then by the end of 2026, you will not only have broken free from your comfort zone, but you'll have grown and made so much progress in just 1 year that you'll become unrecognizable. Everyone has a comfort zone they want to break out of. Whether it's a stale routine, a relationship that isn't working, or a job they don't like. But what keeps us trapped in these comfort zones? These places that aren't exactly bad, but aren't exactly what we want either. Even if we tell ourselves that these things, habits, places, and people bother us, if it's a choice between picking a poison that you know versus the uncertainty of a new path, it's easier and more comfortable for us to stick with the poison that we know than try to find something new. Even if that new thing is what we want, if we don't know for certain that we're going to get that future outcome, whether it's quitting our job and finding a new job, or leaving the relationship that we aren't happy in and trying to find a new one, or creating an entire new routine for ourselves and getting rid of everything that we've known for how to live for years now. Those things are risky, even if it's in the direction of where we want to go. And the potential to fail at trying something new is what keeps us rooted in our comfort zone. But here's the interesting thing about our comfort zones. They will grow the more that we do uncomfortable things. So imagine you've never run before and you want to run just 4 miles. It's going to be pretty uncomfortable the first time you run. But if you did it every day, skip a few years and a few thousand runs later, suddenly that 4-mile run won't be tough enough to be considered your warm-up. The opposite is also true, as the more we avoid uncomfortable things, the more our comfort zone shrinks. Imagine you go from waking up every day at 6 a.m. to sleeping in until noon. Suddenly, the 6 a.m. wake-up time, which might have been easy for you, will feel super uncomfortable after you've gotten used to sleeping in later. We think our comfort zone will always stay the same, that the things that feel easy now will always feel good, and the things that are uncomfortable will always be tough. That's why when we push the boundaries of our comfort zone, especially during New Year's, we want to run back to it, because we're afraid that our whole lives will be in this uncomfortable space. Every time we step outside of our comfort zone, we can hear our old self whispering in our ear, telling us that we can't change, that this isn't us, and that it's dangerous to try, that it's better to run back to safety. But this is a trap. If you listen to it every time you hear it, you'll find yourself retreating more and more into your comfort zone, shrinking it little by little until you find it so small that you can't go outside anymore. But here's the good news. If you're doubting if you can do something or not, that means you're on the right path, that you're pushing yourself enough outside of your comfort zone to question if you can do it. And if you learn to sit with that feeling of discomfort and still move forward instead of running back, you'll find your comfort zone growing. But you don't have to break out of your comfort zone by completely changing yourself right away, like going from someone who has never worked out to suddenly trying to bench 225 tomorrow. That would just be stupid. Instead, when you're first trying to get out of your comfort zone, you can take tiny steps. So let's imagine that you have the literal tiniest comfort zone, that you're someone who is completely stuck in bed and just getting out of your room is something that is uncomfortable to you. The first step to getting out of that comfort zone isn't signing up for a gym, eating healthy, getting a good job, or doing anything that seems insane. Instead, the first step is to literally just get out of bed. Get out of bed on time, don't stay on your phone for too long, and just clean yourself up. These are tiny steps. But if it's something that we haven't done in a long time, it will still be uncomfortable, but it will help move us in the right direction. It's better to go in the right direction, even if it's just one tiny step, than to try to force yourself to leap over everything to get to the person and the life that you want to have. A lot of people set high expectations and goals for themselves for the new year. I'm going to get a new job, I'm going to get that girl, I'm going to start going to the gym, I'm going to travel the world, I'm going to do literally everything. And If you place all of those expectations to push yourself out of your comfort zone and to chase all of these different goals and dreams, then you're going to break. You're not going to be able to handle the weight of doing all of these different things at once if you're not ready to take the first tiny steps towards making that come true. It's nice to have big goals and high expectations for yourself, but a lot of the time this can be what's holding you back. We get so worked up about our goals that we're embarrassed that maybe the first step we need to take today is to just go for a walk. Eat something that isn't junk food, and stop doom scrolling for just 5 minutes. It can seem so pathetic, so small, so insignificant that we don't want to admit it to ourselves and especially to others. But I've been there where I've had days, months, even years stuck in a comfort zone where I couldn't get out of bed before 2 p.m. and I've gone from that stage of my life to climbing literal mountains and running marathons. But whether my goal was getting out of bed on time or running the last kilometer of a marathon, the level of discomfort I felt was exactly the same for both situations. And that's because of what I mentioned earlier, with the size of our comfort zone shrinking or growing depending on what we do. Getting out of bed the first time before 2 p.m. was really tough, but the more that I did it, the more that I got used to it, and it's the exact same thing for running or any goal you have. The more you do it, the stronger you get. So it's okay to admit that you need to take a small step today, because it'll be the first step in your journey, and before you know it, you might have just run a marathon with all those tiny steps you took. But it doesn't matter how tiny the first step is if we actually never take it. Most of us actually know what we need to do. We need to cut out this toxic person. We need to stop that bad habit. We need to slowly build ourselves up towards our dreams. But there's often something that stops us from even doing what we know we should be doing. Jin Woo from Solo Leveling knew he was the weakest hunter. He wanted to get stronger, but he never pushed himself until he literally died and got another chance at life. This was because he believed every one of his insecurities and doubts were true, that he really was the weakest and could never grow stronger. This mentality is in all of us, and it's what keeps us trapped from taking the first step outside of our comfort zone. We think that there's no point in trying because we'll just go back to who we've always been. So why bother? Why go to the gym if you've always been fat and lazy? Why ask a girl out if you've been rejected before? Why try anything? We take ourselves too seriously and our goals too lightly, when it should be the opposite way. We hold on to flawed beliefs and identities so tightly, we would rather believe our past mistakes will become our future than chase our dreams. If I thought this way, I never would have become a runner. I was a chubby kid with asthma growing up who couldn't even run down the street to save my life. I was a stoner for 5 years when I first decided to run. Everything about who I was told me I wasn't a runner, that I could never be a runner. But I pushed myself every day and didn't let that insecure voice win. And now I find myself running marathons every year and can't imagine a life where I don't run. We need to take ourselves lightly, but our goals seriously. When you're trying to change yourself or chase a dream that seems impossible, don't hold on to your old identity and way of thinking. It'll only hold you back and try to drag you into your comfort zone. You have to focus on the things you want to achieve, the person you want to become. Focus all your energy in the direction of where you want to go instead of where you came from. If you're able to move forward towards your goal, no matter how impossible it is, you will change yourself. At this point, you already know what you need to do. You need to break free from the habits that keep you trapped in your comfort zone. The urge to doom scroll, hitting the snooze button too many times, and going back to your old self. If you're struggling with any habits, then I've created the Impulse Mastery Blueprint. It's a system that I've created for you to understand where your bad habits and impulses come from. I made it for the person who genuinely wants to change themselves, but is just struggling with the impulses and habits that pull them back into their comfort zone. If you're interested, check the link down below. Try it out, and if it doesn't help you in 30 days to get out of your comfort zone, I'll give you your money back, no problem. One of the biggest things that keep us in our comfort zone when we're trying to change ourselves is our insecurities. And this is because we're challenging our identity. We're challenging the way that we act and the way that we think, and putting all of this pressure onto ourselves to start changing and feeling uncomfortable through it. This sounds like a lot of pressure, but it's really not that serious, and there's a way for us to go through this change without letting our insecurities sound and feel like a big deal. Imagine you're going out for a walk around your neighborhood. You go for the same walk every day and you have your usual route. But today, instead of turning right, you turn left. Your path changes, but you can still figure your way back home if you want to turn back around. This takes the pressure off of thinking that every step outside of your comfort zone means you have to change completely and embrace this new identity. When you're trying things that break your comfort zone, whether it's eating a healthy meal after years of eating only McDonald's or going to the gym after years of never working out, you have to think like a scientist and treat everything you're doing like an experiment. Get curious and ask yourself, I wonder what happens if I change the way that I act by just a little bit today. Just because you're changing your path a little bit doesn't mean that you can't find your way back, but it also doesn't mean that the change is forever. You're able to turn around if you really want to, but I promise you that if you keep on this path of experimenting with yourself, you're going to change and grow outside of your comfort zone more than you could have possibly imagined if you had taken yourself too seriously. But let's say that somewhere along your journey, you get tired of always pushing yourself out of your comfort zone and you want to go back to the way that things were. Imagine you had a goal of quitting smoking or drinking, but summer comes around and you have a night out. You give into your comfort zone for the night. You have a drink and smoke a joint. When you wake up, you're going to think one of two ways. The first way is, I can't believe I did that. I messed everything up. All my progress and hard work is completely gone and I'm such a failure, which is how most people will think when they fall off. Or you can think the second way, which is, how do I get back on track? If you've been pushing yourself a lot, it's natural that you're going to have days, weeks, even months, maybe even years where you go back into your comfort zone. But here's the thing. If you've been pushing yourself for a long time, the steps that you take back aren't the steps that are going to make you become the same person that you've always been. Instead, it's just slowly retreating yourself back. But you can still pick up where you left off when you decide to change. And that's the thing, is that people don't want to take the steps back because when they see themselves retreating, they just take it as a sign that they can't change and that they shouldn't have ever pushed themselves out of their comfort zone. And this is where most people quit. This is where people give up on their goals, their habits, and everything that they want to change about themselves and just go back to the person that they've always been. But if you're able to just break free from this way of thinking and catch yourself in between moments where you're falling back into comfort and telling yourself, I'm going to change now, I'm going to get back on track, this is how you change yourself. The pressure comes from when we think that these steps back are failure. That's not what failure is. Real failure is when we just give up on changing ourselves entirely. And putting the pressure on ourselves might just make it worse than it is actually helpful for us. As long as you hold on to the purpose that you're trying to get out of your comfort zone and break free from your old ways of thinking and habits, then everything is an opportunity for you to grow, even those steps back. It doesn't matter what your goal is. As long as you've taken steps towards it more than you've taken steps back, it's something to be proud of. Where we fail is when we give up on ourselves and all the progress we made. It's an all-in or all-out way of thinking that most people have when they try to change themselves, and it's the very thing that keeps them trapped. If you're able to take tiny steps outside of your comfort zone without taking yourself too seriously and experiment with your habits, actions, and ways of thinking, then you're going to come out of 2026 stronger than before.